Welcome back to Urbana Park District's Teaching Kitchen. Today we have a special product for you, very much in season right now, coming off our local farms. They can be found at Blue Moon Farm, Sola Gradia Farm, Meyer Farm, and they can be picked up at the farmer's market on Saturday mornings, which is now in season. So we have this beautiful arugula. This arugula is actually from Blue Moon Farm. Arugula is a colder weather crop, so it wasn't affected by these freezing temperatures we had a couple of weeks ago. Arugula actually thrives when it's cold outside. And you can see it grows individually in leaves like this, and then it's harvested by just cutting off the bottom of the leaf. The arugula is a really special salad green because it has a very spicy flavor to it. So today we're going to make arugula pesto paired with these beautiful French breakfast radishes that came off my farm, Hinderkaus Farm, just this morning. This is a wonderful, healthy snack, getting in shape for the summer seasons. And summer apparently is going to be here this Friday when it's going to be 90 degrees outside. You never know what you're going to get with Illinois weather. But for right now, radishes and arugula can both be found at the farmer's market. Today we're going to feature this beautiful vegetables by creating an arugula pesto. And this recipe is really great because you don't just have to use arugula. You can substitute arugula for spinach. Spinach is in season right now. It makes a wonderful spinach pesto. You can substitute it for Genovese basil, which is the sweet basil, which is also in season right now. All of these items can be found Saturday at your local farmer's market. So to get started, I have my mise en place set up here with my arugula, and this is a very simple recipe. You can either do this by hand if you don't have a blender, but I prefer the blender to do all the work for me. Some of the ingredients we'll be using today is Parmesan cheese, pine nuts, garlic, olive oil, arugula, and salt and pepper. The recipe is included in the video, so you guys can just cook along with me. Instead of putting in our pine nuts and our garlic raw, garlic has a really spicy bite to it. So because the arugula is spicy and the radishes are a little bit spicy, I want to mellow out that flavor of garlic. So I took the skin off the garlic cloves and I put them in a saute pan with just enough oil to cover the top. And I put this on medium heat and was able to roast the garlic cloves just until they become golden brown. This mellows out the flavor and gives it a nice rounded out flavor, and it's really, really wonderful, and it takes out that bite, that really spicy bite from your final product. The other thing we're bringing to the stove are our pine nuts. Pine nuts are a little bit expensive, and just like the arugula can be substituted out, pine nuts can be substituted out for walnuts. Walnuts make a really great, cheaper substitution than pine nuts. These pine nuts can be found at World Harvest, just right down the street from where we are right now. So what I'm going to do, same thing with the garlic, is I'm really going to get a lot of flavor into these pine nuts, and I'm going to do that by just lightly toasting them. This is a product you don't really want to step away from because they can burn very easily. So I'm going to babysit this product and move the pan around. What's going to happen is that the heat is going to heat up the bottom of the pan, and it's going to heat these pine nuts, and it's going to release all the oils out of the pine nuts, and that's where you get that real nutty, really wonderful flavor. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I just measured out my pine nuts, half a cup, threw them right into the saute pan. No oil, no salt, because you want to add that at the end of your pesto. So these are just dry in the bottom of the saute pan. I can feel it heating up now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shake these a little bit. The more you move your nuts around, the less of a chance it has for them to scorch on the bottom. So you really want to keep moving this pan around while it releases the oils. Your pine nuts will get to be kind of a toasted color. That's kind of what you're looking for. You don't want them too dark again. Like I said, they can burn very easily. So The other thing, while you're toasting these pine nuts on the stovetop, I prefer to do it on the stovetop instead of the oven because you can control it a little better how much they're toasted. I always worry that I'm going to burn my pine nuts, and burnt pine nuts is just as bad as burnt garlic. Ugh, bitter, gross, don't do it. So the more your pan heats up and the more you move around your nuts, you're going to start to smell that really nutty flavor as the oils from the nuts release into the bottom of the pan. And you can see that our nuts are starting to change color a little bit. They're going from kind of a light beige color and they're getting just a little bit darker. So we're going to do this for a couple more minutes. And you can also kind of hear them start to sizzle on the bottom. That's when you know you kind of want to keep moving them. And that's about all you want. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my heat. You just want to start releasing the oils. They don't have to be a super dark brown color. You just want enough to get that flavor into the arugula pesto. So now that I have my garlic roasted and my pine nuts, I'm going to combine everything into my blender. If you were doing this by hand, you would just be chopping away and then mixing it all into a mixing bowl, adding the oil last. So in theory, we're going to do it the same way in the blender, but the blender is going to do the chopping for us. So I have my blender here, and it doesn't matter what you put in first. You can put in your washed arugula first. This arugula is so beautiful. And then I'm going to add in my 2/3 cup of Parmesan cheese. I'm going to add in my toasted pine nuts. And these can go still warm right on top of the cheese. It'll help melt the cheese just a little bit and emulsify everything together. Alright? And then with my roasted garlic cloves, I'm going to take just the cloves out and put them into the blender as well. Like I said, if you're doing this by hand, you're just going to be chopping all this up together. Now, I use 3 cloves of garlic in this recipe because roasted garlic is more tame than raw garlic. Like I said, raw garlic has a really strong bite to it. So if I were going to put raw garlic in, say with spinach pesto or basil pesto, I would put less in because it's so spicy. This oil that you roasted your garlic cloves in is really wonderful, so save that. You can use this oil in the future to make salad dressings that we learned back in February or March. You can use this roasted garlic oil to sear fish, to sear meat. It's really wonderful, so don't throw this away. Okay, I'm going to add just a squeeze of a half a lemon, and I'm going to squeeze it going so the lemon juice goes through my fingers so I can catch any seeds that fall out. And then make sure I get all the juice. And acid is just like salt and pepper to me. And you always want to make sure anything you're making has a balance of acid in it too. Acid could be lemon juice, it could be vinegar. I got a couple seeds in there. If you get some seeds in there, go ahead and just use your fingers and pull them out. No big deal. Alright, so I've added all of my ingredients except for my olive oil and my salt and pepper. And those are the ingredients that go in the product last. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk over to my blender, and as this is blending, I'm going to slowly emulsify it with the olive oil. Emulsification just means you're pureeing it together like a vinaigrette or an aioli or homemade mayonnaise, whatever you're making at home. But you want that olive oil to be mixed into the whole ingredients instead of just sitting on top and separated. And you do that by making sure you add it very, very slowly. And then we'll finish it with salt and pepper to taste. if you're doing it by hand. It's going to look a little bit more choppy, but don't worry, the flavor is still there. And remember, when you're mixing it in the blender or by hand, make sure to add the olive oil very slowly. And don't feel like you have to add in the whole 350 milliliters. If you feel like your consistency is thick and it's to the right flavor that you want, just pour that olive oil back in the bottle. So here's the final product. It's a beautiful spring green color. This is a great appetizer to serve when you have those cookouts this summer. And it pairs really well with radishes. It goes on sandwiches. You can use this pesto in pasta. You can use it as a steak sauce or a chicken sauce. This sauce is super versatile, so I hope you all enjoy and happy eating.